and welcome to the Book of Wellbeing podcast, a place to help you to understand, manage and improve your mental health and wellbeing, where you will find the knowledge, guidance and tools you need to improve your life, and where you can build your own wellbeing toolkit to take with you whenever you need it. Life has a way of throwing things at us that can alter the way we feel, how we think and how we view the world around us. Dealing with a low mood is hard. When we feel low or down, we tend to view the world and ourselves with dark tinted glasses on. We have a glass half empty mentality rather than glass half full, and we tend to be pessimistic rather than optimistic. It's so easy to let those negative thoughts, the thought possessor, creep their way in and take over our mood. They can be so persistent and convincing, but you have to remember that you are stronger than them. You have the power to change the direction of your mood. It's important to mention here that we're not focusing on depression today, we're focusing on low mood. Depression is a constant low mood, and if you think you might be depressed, then you need to speak to a professional such as your doctor. However, the things that we talk about today can still help. Everyone goes through spells of low mood at one point or another, or many points often, and it's okay. It's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Some people might give you advice such as get over it, get a grip, or pull yourself together. Ignore these pieces of advice when you feel down, because that's the last thing you need to hear. Someone who experiences low mood at times is someone who is strong, the complete opposite of weak. Because what I've found in my experience is that every person I've come across who has been down or low has experienced challenging and difficult experiences and has kept going despite them. This is strength. However, we do have to change something, no matter how small, because if we don't change something, then we are at risk of staying stuck and going through this continuous cycle of feeling low. When we do feel down or low, it's our thoughts that drive it. And if you listen to episode 2, I explained that our mind, or our ego, likes to keep us in a bad mood by repeating the same thoughts, because our brain is wired into thinking that repeating the story and the thoughts will somehow solve the problem, when actually it does the opposite. Often thoughts serve no purpose. They make us feel bad, and when our thoughts cause us to feel low, we can exaggerate how we interpret negative events or experiences. Not always when we have a clear cause, but this can happen often. We jump to conclusions, and negative ones, and we take things personally when it isn't always accurate. Watch out for it, because I bet you find this is a regular occurrence. So we need to keep an eye on our thoughts. Rather than becoming hypnotized by them, we need to be the observer. We need to keep a close eye without getting drawn into them too much. And alongside keeping an eye on our thoughts when we're feeling low, it's helpful to find the source of the problem if we can. We don't need to do anything with this information, just to know what it is, what it might be. Sometimes it's obvious. If we've had a bad experience or a curveball thrown at us, we know why we feel low. And other times it's not so obvious. We just feel this way. But usually this has something to do with our thoughts when they've been free to run wild, making stories. Maybe we went through a story of how bad our lives were at that time, how we didn't have enough money, or we're dwelling on comparison to other people and their lives. There's an endless list of things that can make us feel low and sad. There's no right or wrong, and it's okay to feel this way. You're human and you're allowed to have feelings. You're entitled to them. So let yourself have them. Sometimes it just depends on what's going on for us at that time, how our resilience is. But if we change the way we think, then we can change the way we feel. CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, is a very well-known and widely used approach for professionals in mental health services. And this is based on the concept that our thoughts, feelings and behaviours go round in a repetitive cycle. So our thoughts impact our feelings, which impacts our behaviours, and round they go. We can't begin by focusing on changing our feelings because this won't work. But what we can do, and what CBT tells us we can do, is we can try to work on altering the thoughts and the behaviours. And this will then lead us to impacting positively on our feelings. So what we can do is we can think about this model, the thoughts, feelings and behaviours going round in a circle, and we can apply this like a CBT type approach to ourselves by focusing on the thoughts and behaviours that we need to change. We're not our own therapists in essence, but in some ways we can be. We need to break the cycle. How do you do this? You use the tools that I am introducing in each week's toolkit and you apply them and you test them out and see which ones work for you and which ones don't. It could be helpful for you to actually keep a pen and paper handy when you're listening to each weekly podcast and write down these, because there's quite a lot and there's more to come, and it'll help you to remember. But by applying these skills, these techniques, these tools, that is you making a change and having a better grasp of how you think, feel and behave. The first thing that we need to do when we feel down or low is to allow ourselves to feel this way and to just accept that this is the mood we're in, rather than trying to resist against it. The next thing you need to do is think about what helps you, what soothes you when you feel low. We're all different and there's a long list of things that you could think about, but just think for you what really helps when you feel down and do that. There's 3 tools in today's toolkit that I'm introducing you to help when you feel low. The first one is thought balancing. So if you picture a set of old-fashioned scales where there's two sides, when you have a negative thought, this weighing scale is weighed down on one side, there's no balance. So what you need to do is add an opposite or a positive thought to balance the scales out. So for example, if you have a thought such as I'm not good enough, then you think about a thought that contradicts this. Well, I'm trying, or I am good enough, or I can do this. So thought balancing, balance them out. The next skill is called leave the room. It's very simple. When we feel low and sad, we tend to sit in the same room and ruminate a lot over what we're thinking about and how we're feeling. And what this does when we stay in the same environment is it prolongs the process to feel better. So you will feel the same way for a longer time. So the trick is leave the room, go into another room, go out the house, somewhere else, a different environment to shift your mood. And the last skill, sometimes the hardest to put into practice when we don't feel motivated, but sunlight therapy. So sunlight is really good for our mood and it helps people who might feel sadder in winter if we get out into the daylight, because when we don't, we reduce our vitamin D in our body, and vitamin D is what helps our mood. So as much as you can, get out into daylight, even for a short period of time, 10 minutes, a short walk. But remember sunlight therapy or daylight, because that will help. That brings us to the end of today's episode. I hope it's been helpful. In the next episode, we will be focusing on problem solving.